good stories around the NFL right now is what's going on in Denver. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, an unlikely pairing that is paying off. It's time to bring in our guy, RK. You can follow him on Twitter at Ryan Koenigsberg. Man, I don't know if I need to apologize to you or what, but this is working out right now. I don't know what to say. I mean, and Bo Nix is making some legitimate throws along the way too. It's not just like it's all just schemed up. And I mean, it is, and Sean Payton's doing a really good job, but he's also making some really good throws along the way. And the Broncos are, after facing a tough 2-week stretch in the schedule, boy, did they bounce back yesterday with a huge win over the Falcons.
Yeah, I heard you guys wanted to talk about the future NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, so here I am to talk about Bo Nix.
Is it possible? Like, for real though, it's that gap is a lot smaller than I think people realize with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, what's crazy is I got in on it at plus 800 before this week, and it's already down to plus 300. Now, Jaden Daniels is minus 400, so he's still got a pretty healthy lead there, but the gap is closing quickly. And if Bo puts out performances like he had yesterday consistently moving forward, I mean, the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, and that conversation is going to get really, really interesting. So yesterday, he's the first, this is from our friend James Palmer, first rookie ever to complete over 80% of his passes and throw for over 300 yards and 4 TDs in a game. First rookie ever to do that. It was his fourth game with 70% completion or better, 2 pass touchdowns, and 0 interceptions this season, which is most ever by a rookie, tied for with Dak Prescott. And it's just remarkable to see the progression that he's made. That's what I tweeted during the game, is like, these narratives and these awards usually get decided early because people decide who they're going to watch and who they're not going to. And if you just watched Bo Nix the first 2 weeks of the season, you'd say, okay, well, I don't need to watch him anymore. But the progression that he's made from then to now is really, really rare and special. And I think not enough credit probably is being given to Sean Payton for that. He is doing just a world-class job of getting Bo prepared and getting him ready. And that game plan yesterday was just off the charts good. I usually talk about how, you guys have heard of the, whatever you want to call it, the 60-20-20 rule. It's like 60% of games are going to be close. 20 or you're going to play above what you're capable of, 20% you're going to play below what you're capable of. And that was very clearly a high 20% game. And that usually has to do with the game plan. And I mean, it felt like every single button Sean Payton pressed in that game hit perfectly. And it's rare that you see that, just one after another, dialing up plays. And then even in the times when he didn't dial it up great, Bo was able to make a play. And if you were to watch week 1 or week 2 tape and then compare it to what Bo Nix did yesterday, you would think one of those was from a guy 10 years ago, and one was, towards the end of his career when he was completely locked in. For them to be able to develop him that quickly and that aggressively in just, 8 weeks time really is just unbelievable to watch.
So let's build on that, because I saw that game against the Jets when he was 12 of 25 for 60 yards. And I remember thinking, oh, man, they bet on the wrong horse here. No pun intended, right? And the interesting thing, too, is the whole thing with Bo Nix is he was supposed to be more pro-ready. He was a 24-year-old, 5-year guy in college, right? What have they done, whether it's behind the scenes or with the game plan, to get him from where he was week 4 to where he is now, where he's playing better than any rookie quarterback in the NFL?
I mean, a lot of it is giving him easy stuff and giving him kind of confidence builders. But I think that also just goes to his confidence going up. The throw that he made to Devon Vele in the, up the middle of the field on a post, over the linebacker in front of the safety, it was just like, no one knew he was capable of making that throw earlier in the season because he didn't have the confidence to make it. But now we're seeing that when he wants to just step in and fire it, He does have that arm. He does have the ability to fit the ball into tight windows, and it's, I think, a combination of confidence, a combination of scheme, and then there's just something too, the old, like, the game slowing down for you thing. Like, it's very clear that when he was in college, he was processing the game at an elite level. Then you get to the NFL, and it's just like you're in a whole new world. And I don't blame anyone, and including myself. I guess I don't blame myself, but for being worried. Okay, well, maybe that processor isn't quite as fast as it looked when he was at Oregon. But I think it was clearly just a scenario where he needed to feel it. He needed to get used to it. And now that he's understands the speed of the game, I think he can process at that rate.
So, I mean, these numbers are impressive. Only 5 incompletions, 28 out of 33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. Broncos are now 6-5. What's the ceiling for this team right now, RK?
I mean, I think the ceiling is making the playoffs. Once you get into the dance, anything can happen. But I think that there's nothing stopping them from getting there. The schedule for the next few weeks plays out pretty nicely. You've got a few more winnable games, and then I think as the end of the season comes, you got a Chargers matchup, you got a Chiefs matchup that are really going to test you and see if you're kind of ready for that. Obviously, the Broncos showed they were ready for the Chiefs last week, but I think that this team can absolutely make the playoffs. And just to go back to one more piece of credit for Sean Payton that I think he deserves is not a lot of people right now, at least, are talking about the lack of weapons that Bo Nix has around him. Like, you talk about going into a great situation for a quarterback, and I think one of the things that was maybe underrated for Bo Nix coming in here was the quality of the offensive line that the Broncos have. Those guys are playing really, really well. But one of the reasons why, the Broncos fans are pulling receipts left and right now of people predicting this team to go 3-14 or get the number 1 overall pick, this, that, or the other, was because people were looking and saying, okay, well, who do they have that they can go to? Who's the guy that they can rely on offensively? And obviously you're not going to put a rookie quarterback in that conversation before the season. So it was like, okay, well, Cortland Sutton, he's a okay number 1 wide receiver. What else do they have on offense? It's not like anyone feared Javonte Williams or Jaleel McLaughlin or, no one even knew who Devon Vele is, rightfully so. So it's like the scheme and just the job that Sean Payton has done to get them in good situations without having, their Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, who you can just say, yeah, we know in a moment you can go to this guy anytime you want. It's crazy. It's honestly like crazy even for me to see the way that that Sean Payton has these guys looking like, world beaters in a game like yesterday.
And then on the other side of the ball too, outside of that Ravens game, you look at these past 4 weeks, Falcons scored 6 points, Chiefs only scored 16 on them, Panthers held to 14 points. What are they doing defensively to help Bo Nix?
Yeah, I mean, great point in terms of talking about their ceiling, because this defense feels like they can go toe-to-toe with anyone right now. I think one of the biggest kind of revelations on that side of the ball has been Riley Moss playing opposite of Pat Surtain. And it's just like, you already know that one side of the field is going to be completely locked down with number 2 out there. In his career to this point, the Broncos haven't necessarily had a guy on the other side who can lock up as well. And Riley Moss, kind of out of nowhere, comes in and is playing really, really good at cornerback too. And then, of course, once you get that going, then all of the other stuff lines up. And Vance Joseph has been incredibly aggressive, blitzing on pass downs this year. And you can only really get away with that if those guys are covering out there. So those guys are doing a great job in coverage. And then, across the board, but I think most impressively, Nick Benito, who has a really, really, really fast first step. When you put him in speed rushing situations, he's just been teeing off. So it's, to me, it starts with that coverage, and then Vance Joseph trusting that coverage to be really, really aggressive, and it's making life a living hell. And then, of course, they're also just stopping the run. The Bijan Robinson couldn't get anything out there. So all of that adds up to some fun defense.
Can you, I guess, just to make myself feel worse and everybody in Chicago, explain what ownership change and investing in a proven head coach can possibly do for a franchise?
Well, I'll start by saying we loved the former owners, and especially Pat Bowlen before he passed away. It was that, but the Broncos were in like a weird middle ground there for a while, where it was the team was in the hands of the trust, and so you don't really realize how much money helps a franchise, especially because the average person does, well, there's a salary cap. How much can it really help you? Until you're in the situation of the Broncos where your owner is like 4 times richer than the next richest owner in the league, and it's just like they came in here and we're just like, we want to win. That's all. Whatever it takes. We're not here to make money. They've got plenty of that. They just want to spend. And so when they targeted Sean Payton, I think when they determined that that's who they wanted, there was no number that was going to stop them, and that's obviously very, very valuable to a team to just be able to go get it. So yeah, I know you guys are looking over at what's going on with the Chargers and Harbaugh and thinking that could have been us, but yeah, it's a underrated advantage. And then you get even more down into the nitty gritty of like, Broncos probably wouldn't have been able to move on from Russell Wilson if it wasn't for all of the money that they have in the back, just to be able to restructure contracts, pay bonuses out, all of that escrow stuff that you get into when you get into the nitty gritty of NFL contracts and loopholes with the salary cap. Broncos probably wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't have unlimited resources on that side. So it's been nice.
Can I give you one more observation that I don't know if it has to do with that or not? I'm assuming it does. The field looks incredible. Like I thought I was watching the Rose Bowl yesterday. Like for real. Like is that has to be related, right? Like just in terms of just investing in things that make sense. It sounds so simple, but fix your field.
I'm going to clip this and send it to the Broncos because they will be so happy that you said that. Yeah, I mean that is part of it. Last season, going into week 18, the Broncos field was in bad condition, and the ownership went and spent whatever ridiculous amount of money it is, like $300,000 or something, to replace the field just for one game because they knew they would have to replace it again before this season. But they when people look out there at the field when they're watching the Denver Broncos play, they want them to say, "Man, this looks like the Rose Bowl," like you just did. So, yes, that also plays a role. That's going to make some people happy in the Broncos organization.
All right. Well, good stuff, RK. We always love having you on. It's been honestly fun watching that Broncos team play right now. We'll see if they can keep it going, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Good to talk to you, fellas.
We all silly like the mayor.